Are you mad? I mean, really mad, because I am, and you should be. I'm mad because of the way the real estate industry is being attacked right now. More specifically, the way some people are spreading, I'm just going to call it fiction, that buyer brokerage is going to go away in the very near future. Buyer agents going to go away. Not going to need them. And once that happens, the real estate industry is going to change. The listing system is going to change, and it's all good for the business. Well, it got me mad, but it also got my attention. Now, I had a student of mine that sent me a video, and when I watched the video, I saw that some people are actually buying into some of this fiction. Some are even spreading this fiction. So I decided to do some research for you. You know, somebody's got to have your back. And what I learned was this all started with a lawsuit filed by Christopher Merle. Now, the lawsuit basically said he didn't want to pay a buyer broker fee. He was a seller. But more importantly, that he didn't want to be forced to pay it, required to pay it. Now, there were a bunch of lawsuits that went on about the same time. Some were even dismissed. But in April 22, a class action status was granted. And the class action status from sellers claimed that the National Association of Realtors had created and implemented anti-competitive rules that required a seller to pay a commission to the buyer broker. That was the crux of their argument. Now, the lawsuit was filed against NAR, some of our top brokers, some of our top MLSs. And one of the ways that they're proving this is this clause is in the MLS. They call it the but-for clause. But for this clause, these plaintiffs are saying none of them would have paid a buyer broker fee. And in order to be part of MLS, you have to offer it in some MLSs. Okay. I decided to do some research. Because of it being a class action suit, there's a lot of attorneys involved. And one of the attorneys for the plaintiffs, the sellers, is a Dr. Craig Schulman. And in his findings, he compared the US market with a number of other countries and said that basically we compare best with Australia. So I did a little bit of research in Australia. I didn't find the same comparisons he did, but he's the court expert, so that's the way it's going to go. One of the things, though, that he found was that 1 to 5% of the people in Australia basically use a buyer agent. When I did my research, one of the things that I found was that Australia is moving toward buyer agency, not away from it. So I found that pretty interesting. But anyway, there were 3 things I want you to hear about. Number one, they're saying that buyer brokerage inflated commissions. That's number one. Number 2, they're saying that if that wasn't the case, buyer brokerage would go away, buyer agents would go away, it would just magically disappear. And that because they want to offer less, NAR can't allow others to offer more because it would be steering people away from their sellers' homes because they don't want to offer the same commission. Okay. Let's talk about these 3 things. Now, if you don't know who I am, that's okay. My name is Mike Fiddler. I got in real estate in 1989. I was a top listing agent for many years, and now I own my own coaching and training company. The only thing that's important there is 1989. I was involved in real estate before buyer brokerage, before this all started. And before buyer brokerage, if you as an agent wanted to show one of my listings, you did so as what was called a sub-agent of my seller. The buyer was called your customer. They were not a client because they were not represented. So that's the way it worked. And we still offered a fee to agents who brought buyers to the table. Okay, if they closed, they still got paid. Now, NAR realized they had a little bit of a problem because when they did research and surveys, and they asked buyers who worked for you, buyers were saying it was their sub-agent, which they knew couldn't be true. So NAR had a perception problem. And it fixed the problem by creating buyer brokerage. Buyer brokerage became the legal way that somebody could work for a buyer. And now we're offering 2 different commissions. As listing agents, we're offering a sub-agent commission. We're offering a buyer broker fee. Most of us use the same fee. It worked. There's no reason why, if you were being represented by another agent, we just looked at that and said, if you brought a buyer to the table and the deal closed, you got paid. I believe that then, I believe it now. It worked for 30 years. Fast forward to today. Somehow they're saying buyer brokerage inflated commissions. Now, I'm not an attorney, so anything I'm going to give you today, let's just call it common sense. Okay? Commissions back then, 5-6%. Commissions now, 5-6%. Exactly how did buyer brokerage inflate commissions? Commissions have been stable for 30 years or more. I don't know too many other things that have that. So common sense tells me that buyer brokerage did not inflate commission. Okay, let's say they don't want to offer anything. They're saying if that happens, buyer brokerage will go away, just magically disappear. I went looking for answers. Didn't have to look far. The defendants, which were our brokers and MLSs that are out there, they already had done that. The Northwest MLS removed the clause that required sellers to pay a fee. Guess what happened? Commissions didn't come down. Sellers still offered a unilateral form of compensation to a buyer broker. Buyer agents didn't go away. Buyer agency didn't go away. None of these things happened. Now, their response to that is not enough time has gone by. Yeah, it could take several years. Okay. Common sense tells me that's not what's going to happen. 1989, the law of the land back then in real estate was called let the buyer beware. There was no protection. Buyer brokerage provided consumer protection. It gave them somebody who worked for them. You think buyer brokerage is just going to go away? We're going to regress? And then the third thing, they're saying that because they don't want to offer a fee, that it would be steering their buyers away from the other listings. Folks, commissions are negotiable. When I sit down with the seller, we negotiate how much they're going to pay me and how much I'm going to offer to a buyer broker. If they don't want to offer a lot, that's their choice. They don't have to. And then I have a choice whether or not I want to take the listing. It's called negotiations. If you look at MLS right now, you'll find that some people are offering 3% as a buyer broker fee. Some are offering 2%, some are offering 1%, some are offering less. The buyer broker fee should not affect whether or not you as an agent shows the house. Now, truth of the matter is, it's probably going to affect some agents differently because some agents haven't been trained on how to get their fee when they're representing the buyer. They pretty much have been just taking what the seller offers. So I understand there could be a learning curve here. But my students know that when you sit down with a buyer and you get a buyer broker agreement signed, they know how they're going to get paid. Whether the seller pays that or not, they know how they're going to get paid. And if you don't know that, then maybe you should be talking to somebody that can help teach you that. So 3 pieces. Common sense tells me none of those things are going to happen. So why am I so mad? Well, I'm not mad at the sellers because they're just trying to make some money back. Okay. I'm not mad at the buyers. I'm not mad at the courts. I'm not mad at the attorneys. I'm mad at us. I'm mad at the coaches and the leadership because we should be battling this. We should be out there telling you all what's going on and how to combat it. We should be training you to make sure that this doesn't change the way they think it's going to. I think there will be some changes with this lawsuit, but change based on fiction, change that goes against common sense, that doesn't make any sense. And that's what you should be mad at. Now, if you don't know how to get your commission, call me. Go on my website. I'll show you. And if you do know how, good for you. Get out there, make some noise. Somebody's got to have your back. I'm Mike Fiddler. Have a great day. Bye now.